Hi there, my name is Lydia Martinez, and I am here today with Camille, who is the Outreach Director for the Other Side Village. How are you doing today, Camille?
Doing great, thank you.
Excellent. I'm so excited to have this conversation with you because you have been a homeless resources advocate here in Salt Lake City for a number of years. And you're kind of an expert in this area. Tell me a little bit about some of the challenges or things that people may not know about our unhoused population in Salt Lake.
With the unsheltered population, I know that I represented also the business community because I worked for the Downtown Alliance doing this work for all those years. And while it can be a nuisance for businesses or property owners or homeowners when they have people camping around where they're unsheltered, those individuals really are living in a very difficult circumstance that I don't think anybody would choose to live this way. They have very little access to really the things we all need to survive. Simple things like shelter and food and water and the access to, in the wintertime, it's very cold. In the summertime, it's very hot and can be, lethal in both seasons for them because they have no appropriate shelter or ability to cool off or get warm when they need to. Access to just drinking water. When you think about having to buy bottled water all the time or having access to getting clean water to drink. Of course, food. There are resources there are food banks. There is St. Vincent's Dining Hall that provides a cooked meal for lunch and dinner, as well as a couple of sack meals provided by Good Samaritans, the Good Samaritans organization for the Catholic Church. But there's just, you get only what you're given. You can have access to, it's like where we can go to the refrigerator if you're hungry or you want something specific. So just really the basic everyday things are a challenge. Using the restroom. When you think about how many times a day you just, without thinking about it, are able to use the restroom. And for somebody who's unsheltered, that's a nightmare all on its own. So while these challenges that they're facing affect the rest of the community, it's very difficult circumstances. And I don't think anybody wants to live this way. It's having access to, showers, any of those things. And there is a day center in the downtown area, the Wigan Day Center, that provides some of those things, but just everyday simple things we need to survive are very difficult, and often those people are not welcome anywhere. They're not, they're shuffled from place to place and not welcome to come into a business to use the restroom or those sort of things. And so it's a difficult life, and many of the ways they cope with that are through drug use. We think about how awful that life would be, can hardly imagine existing that way, and can understand the need to just kind of check out sometimes. So the people who are experiencing homelessness are suffering, and that's really, I think people realize they're suffering, but maybe not to the extent of just the simple everyday things. They don't realize how difficult that life is, and
Well,
that way.
I love that you painted that picture of just imagine not being able to find a bathroom to use or to be able to take a shower after a long, hot, sweaty day, after one of those sweltering days, or getting pushed from place to place because you don't have a consistent place to kind of lay your head every day. So while you were with Downtown Alliance and kind of coordinating and working, to find solutions between business owners and the homeless population here in Salt Lake City, tell me about some of the programs specifically serving homeless individuals that you helped develop.
One of the first things that I worked on developing with some community partners is what we called the Clean Team, which was a job program for those who were basically residing at the Road Home Shelter that was right there in the Rio Grande area. Downtown Salt Lake has always been known for its cleanliness and its friendliness, and the city itself has a great maintenance department that maintains the core of the city. It's very beautiful, clean, well maintained. But that district ends at 400 West, and 400 West is about where the border of all the homeless services begins. And so we had a whole area in the west side, that kind of Rio Grande neighborhood, that didn't have city trash cans, did not have, maintenance crews coming to clean up and that sort of thing. And so we have a lot of people who are exiting the shelter every day. Roughly 1,000 people who stayed in that shelter every night would have to exit in the morning with all their belongings and out onto the street and to find something to occupy themselves, and often just hung out in the neighborhood, but there was always a lot of trash, not really places for them to put things, and there was a real problem with human waste, all those other things. And so first thing we tackled was the trash, and so created this job program that we called the Clean Team, that hired those individuals living and working there, residing there, to actually be the crew that would go around and do cleanup. We were able to petition the city council for funds to put in trash cans in that neighborhood, new trash cans that were permanently installed around that neighborhood. In the end, we ended up, I think, with around 30 to 40 total trash cans along those 2 blocks, about a square block, about an 8 square block radius, where those, that population kind of tends to reside.
Yeah.
And then the cleanup crews, we have 3 shifts a day, 7 days a week, that go around and pick up trash and empty those trash cans. So it employed the people who needed the employment, who were currently homeless, staying there at the road home, and also beautified the area. So we looked at ways to involve the individuals who needed the service with the solution. So that really improved just the environment right off the bat.
And I love the tie-in between, here's a problem, here's a population, this is a community, let's bring all of those things together for a solution that makes a positive impact.
And work together. And we were able to work with a great employer, a employer that specializes, a nonprofit employer that specializes in hiring people with barriers to employment. So this was perfect fit, and great partner, Advantage Services. And so that was just, it involved a bunch of different, in the city and others, in helping to make this program a success. And so that was really key, was that I realized there were things that could be done to improve things. And then from there, we played a key role in getting the property approved for the storage program. So we've been working with the city on trying to create a storage program for where people could take all those belongings that they had to exit the shelter with every day. They're carrying around with them everything they own. And at that time, there was not storage available for them inside the shelter. And so we worked to get that property secured and created a storage program for people to store their belongings. And that's still operating. So that was another thing that helped to improve the environment in the area. And the other third major thing was the bathrooms. People did not have appropriate access to bathrooms. They weren't able to go back into the shelter without going through a check-in process. And the Weekend Day Center was open limited hours. And so there was just a huge need for bathrooms. And so petitioned the city council again with a capital improvement request to get a couple of permanent outdoor restrooms installed. We had the model called Portland Loos. We had done some research, and that seemed like the right model of outdoor restroom. It's simply maintained, it's simple construction, but it's a real bathroom. It's able to be monitored, and if somebody gets locked in, they can get access to it. And so it was just, that took some time, a little bit of time. It was, it's a high cost thing, but we were able to, once again, get support of the city council to install those. And so there's 2 permanent restrooms in that neighborhood, Portland Loos. They're fenced so they can be controlled and clean. Again, partnered with Advantage Services to maintain those. And so we have people, that clean team crew that monitors those bathrooms and cleans them daily. They do power washing in that neighborhood as well. And so we just, over time, kind of created this host of services that were designed to improve the environment, employ those who were experiencing homelessness, and make it clean and safe for everyone.
Well, and to give our homeless population a higher degree of dignity and things like that as well. I think that a lot of people can't imagine having to carry everything you own all day, every day, back and forth, or again, like I said before, not having a place to just go use a restroom, and how crippling that is.
For me, that restroom issue, and when we really delved into that and took an inventory of what was available in the neighborhood. And I just really started thinking about what would I do if I had to navigate that every day. And it really was heartbreaking to me to think that, people are literally, in some ways, and this can be harsh, but it's like people are being treated like animals. And so, that was a big eye opener for me. I had a major shift in my thinking about, the problem, that it wasn't just oh, these people are, doing all these things we don't like and we need to clean it up and that sort of thing. And I learned that really early on because I went out and did street outreach with Volunteers of America because I wanted to get a closer look at what was the situation. But really the bathroom issue was a huge eye-opener for me. It made me feel much more a depth of compassion for people and what they're struggling with.
Yeah. So from there, you also worked on a program called the Green Team program. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yes. So after these programs, we worked on creating. There was a vacant lot in that neighborhood that was kind of trash filled and ugly, and I thought, well, we could create a community garden there. And then, but that lot did not end up becoming available. Got sold to somebody else who used it for business, for storage and things, and so they fenced it off. But that idea had taken seed, if you will, and unintended. And there was another piece of property in that same neighborhood that was also fenced off. It was actually originally a large garden. The Howe family owned it. And in that property on 100 South, about 600 West and 100 South, that whole area. And it was an RDA owned land. The city redevelopment agency owned that land. And it's fenced off. It had sprinklers in it. And I thought, why don't we create a community garden / farm here? And again, we can expand those employment opportunities. And so I began to look for partners on that as well. Partnered again with Advantage Services on the employment piece, worked with the council to get funding for the program. And then also Wasatch Community Gardens joined us in this effort. And so we created, after just working through the ideas, we decided we'd create a job program, training program for women that were experiencing homelessness. So we focused specifically on women because we're going to be in a year-long program, and we'd have a person working with them during the day in the farm. And then we'd also have life skills training and one-on-one mentoring that I would be doing with them. And so we decided to just focus on women. And so we created this program where we could have 8 to 10 women at a time per cohort. And they would spend, one growing season working together and working on their job skills and then their soft skills, as well as just working with me on resolving different issues, working on housing, other things they might need help with. So that started in 2016. And so we had our 6th season this last year. So it's doing really well. We've had, I don't know the total number of women that have served, probably a couple of hundred women over that time. Not everybody comes through and stays the whole time. So they might work there for a little while and then leave. But we've had a great number of success stories and women going on to bigger and better things and getting their lives back on track. And so that provided an opportunity to have a longer term, closer relationship with those experiencing homelessness and really help them resolve some of the issues they were having and help them become housed again and gainfully employed. And so that's probably been my favorite thing, just because it's provided such an opportunity for that more deep one-on-one interaction and really helping people get their lives on track.
Absolutely. So what are the things that you learned from, helping launch some of these initiatives?
I would say that what I've learned is the problem is very complex. They're, kind of the solutions that sometimes people just throw out there, like, oh, they just need to get a job, or oh, they just need to do this, or that. Having worked closely with people, for over several years, you really get into the heart of their challenges and where their problems and sometimes even deficiencies where they've, not had really the experience or training or education that they need to be successful, or they've, grown up in an environment that was very challenging. And so just trying to work with people to get their lives sorted out again. And it's not simple. There's just a lot to it. There are a lot of moving pieces. There's a lot of, and you're also dealing with human beings with free will. You can't make anybody do anything. And that was, you have to try to inspire somebody and help them feel like it's possible. And sometimes they've experienced so much challenge and just, being turned away and that sort of thing that they lose hope. They lose the belief that something can be better, or they can have something better. So working with, human beings with complex issues, that homelessness is a big challenge. It's an important one for us to address. It's an important one that needs our compassion. It needs our hard work. It needs us to roll our sleeves up and to not just be complacent. And when I began doing this work, there was a lot of complacency I felt going on, and kind of throwing up the hands of like, well, this is just how it is, and we can't make it better. And that's not true. We absolutely can make it better. We can do better. And I met the folks from the Other Side Academy that created the academy about 6 years ago. At the same time we were launching the farm, we met at an event where we were both there pitching for funding for those two programs. I was beginning that, they were beginning this, and we became fast friends and really loved what they were doing. And it's that same concept. We really can help people accomplish something and do something better and make their lives better, that we don't have to just kind of throw our hands up and, think there's no changing this. If you were to look at, can we help somebody who's had a long history of addiction and incarceration? How can we really help them change? Well, it's proven that can happen. And, that was really my path. My reasoning for doing any of these things was to improve things and make things better and to really give people an opportunity. So.
Well, that's the key, is the opportunity, I think, more than anything else. Talk to me. So one of the things that you did as part of kind of your research and your growth and through your advocacy for the homeless, you discovered the program Community First, based in Austin, Texas. Tell me a little bit very quickly about that program.
Well, I'd actually gone to an annual meeting for the International Downtown Association on behalf of the Downtown Alliance. I was at that convention and presenting on homelessness issues as a presenter in one of the sessions, and one of the tours. So they have downtown organizations all over the country are struggling with homelessness, as you can imagine. And so they had a whole track of programming of that one for people like myself who were working on homelessness issues in their downtowns. And so they took us, one of the things was a tour of Community First Village. And so we went out there with a group of other folks from other downtown areas, downtown associations around the country. And I was just blown away by it. I saw a solution that wasn't just housing, but it was a community-based approach of neighbors taking care of each other, of community members from the large community coming in and serving. And that's really their motto, is to create, to replace the family for these individuals who don't have that community and family support, and surround them with people who will not only support them but love them. So it was a different approach of, rather than just creating a kind of institutional housing, we're going to build a housing thing here, might have a case manager or some service provider in the building, but this is just neighbors and friends, not caseworkers or clinical workers. And it's a different environment, and that's really what struck me, was that this was a community approach to solving homelessness, not a government one, not an institutional one. And it had such a warmth and atmosphere of love, and it was just different. Things where you feel like the clouds part and the angels sing.
Right.
Wow.
Where you're like, okay, this is the thing.
This is the thing. This is different than anything we've done, previously. We need lots of housing. I'm not denigrating other housing projects, but there's a detachment that happens when you're always working in a clinical setting or a case management setting. You have to keep those professional boundaries. And, if there's anything that's true about people who are homeless, they don't have a lot of good connections. They have, if you end up on the street, you have to think you don't have a lot of other resources. I can think of a list 100 people long who I could call for help. Family members, extended family, friends. I have a wide, broad network of people who would help me if I were down on my luck. But when somebody who gets to the point of being homeless, they've never had that support system. They haven't grown up in an environment where they've had that, or they have, through other things, have kind of lost those connections with family and support. So this opportunity is really to provide a network of positive support and community members who can lift and inspire and just try to help people get back to that a way of life that is, what's the word I want to say, that's just better, that they can enjoy a safe, clean home. They can have access to food when they need it. They can have access to employment when they need it. They can have access to health care and mental health care and treatment and all the things that they need, and just really be supported and embraced by the larger community. And I see in Salt Lake and in Utah, there are so many people that want to help the homeless.
Yeah.
That do things, and this provides an outlet and an opportunity to really help in a meaningful way and to solve those problems and address them.
It's all those things. It's all those things that we were talking about at the beginning that so many of us take for granted. A safe place to lay your head at night, where you're going to be totally safe and you don't have to worry about anything, and food to eat that you know is going to be plentiful and it's going to be good and filling, and resources for self-care. And then the other one is that sense of community or family. If you've lost that sense of family, rebuilding that to the point that you have someone to call, you have a literal neighbor in the village that you can ask for help, or you have community leaders there within the village that are, appointed by the village, by the villagers to help and support.
Right. And so this village is designed, to offer those resources. And in Texas, they had the same thing. They had healthcare there. They had a little store. They had lots of community activities. They had a job. They had somebody who could help with employment. They had a variety of enterprises people could work in to earn money. They had, plenty of opportunities for people to be engaged and to better their lives. And so it was just it was a beautiful thing. It reminded me of if you lived 100 years ago and you lived in a small community and everything was right there and you knew everyone and everybody took care of everybody. That's what it reminded me of. And I thought,
yeah,
I've been looking through all these different things I've done. I've been looking for really a way to make a meaningful difference and really change how we address homelessness. And that's what I felt like when I saw that model. It's like, this is how we need to do it. We need to not just put somebody in a project or in a shelter. We need to embrace them back into the community, back into our family, back into our everyday life, and have them, they get ostracized, they get shoved aside, and with the camping, the same thing. And a lot of people are like, make it go away, make it go away. We don't like that here. And it's understandable why people don't appreciate having, large camps and things. But when they don't have any other solution, what else are they going to do? And so this just really struck me as something we needed to bring to Utah, that we have such a large homeless population here, but a lot of unsheltered people too, and that are unwilling sometimes to go into a shelter because they don't want to be in that large congregate environment where they don't have any personal space or security. And so this provides a beautiful home for somebody, and not only that, but the community that supports them, and they're not alone.
Well, thank you so much, Camille, for talking us through your experiences and also showcasing the community first that will be an example of the template that we're building here through the Other Side Village. I really appreciate your time. Any final thoughts?
I just am really excited to be a part of this. I, really wanted to bring this idea, and when Tim and Joseph and Dave decided they wanted to be part of bringing a village to Utah and asked me to join with them, it was an easy yes. This was, to work with people that I admire and what they've accomplished, and to join forces and do this together. It was just, I couldn't have wished for a better organization to come up to the table and say, we want to be part of this, a better partner to do this. So I think it's fantastic. I'm very excited about the potential of what we can do here with this concept and with this team.
Well, perfect. Thanks again, Camille, for your time today. Thanks for everybody who tuned in. If you have questions or comments, please do pop them in under the live stream. We'll absolutely answer those. And stay tuned. We're doing live streams about the village every single Thursday. Thanks so much, everybody who listened in.